Hi, my name is Josh and I'm a guitar tutor for South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture, and today we're going to be learning some more beginner guitar chords. So if you remember last week we covered G, E minor, C, and we learned our first chord which needed 3 fingers, the D, okay? This week we're going to learn 2 more chords that you use 3 fingers. So we'll start off by recapping the D from last week, just because we're going to use that chord in this pattern. So if you remember, the D chord looked like this and sounded like this. So it started with your first finger on the first fret, your first finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. And if you remember, your first finger is your pointer finger, your middle finger is your 2nd finger, this finger here, your ring finger, is the 3rd finger, and your pinky is your 4th finger. Okay, so we're going to start with our first finger, the pointer finger, and we're going to put that on the 2nd fret of the G string. Then we're going to take our 2nd finger, the middle finger, we're going to miss a string, and we're going to put that in the 2nd fret of the E string. And then the B string, the string we missed out, is where we're going to put our 3rd finger, and we're going to put that in the 3rd fret. And this time we're going to strum 4 strings. Okay? So that's your D. That's one of the ones we did last week. So we'll practice that. If you can't quite remember the D or the other chords we learned, just go back to last week's video and go over that again before you start this one. But anyway, that's the D. So we've got our D now. Now we're going to learn an A major and an E major chord. Okay? Like the D, we're going to use those same 3 fingers, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd finger. Okay, now the A chord is quite an easy one to at least remember because each of your fingers go in the same fret. So we start with our first finger and it's going to go in the 2nd fret of the D string this time. And then our middle finger is just going to go on the string below that, directly below that on the 2nd fret of the G string. And then our 3rd finger is going to go on the string directly below that on the 2nd fret as well, on the B string this time. So each of your fingers is in the same fret. Now, this might be quite difficult to get them all to fit within the box, or within the fret, but to do this, just position your first finger so it's a wee bit over to the side, maybe in the middle of the fret, and then position that one just below it, but maybe to the side, just so you can get them all to fit. So that's your A, all in the 2nd fret, starting the D string, then the G string, then the B string. Okay? Now this time, unlike most of the other chords we've learned where we've only strummed 4 strings, this time we're going to strum 5 strings. Okay? So we're going to strum all the strings except from the string closest to your face, the lowest sounding string, the E string. So we're going to strum every one apart from this one. So just down. Okay, so try that. Maybe once you've got it, strum it 4 times like this. And then once you can do that, take your hand off and then try and do it again, okay? So put it back on. Remember, each of your fingers go in the 2nd fret, starting with the 2nd fret of the D string, then your 2nd finger in the 2nd fret of the G string, then your 3rd finger in the 2nd fret of the B string, and you're going to strum 5 strings. Okay, so practice that, strum it 4 times, then take your hand off, and then stick it back on 4 times again. And then once you're able to do that a few times, what to do is we'll go back and we'll do the D, and then we'll try and switch from the D to the A. Now this is where it's going to get quite tricky because you're having to make 2 different chords using 3 of your fingers. Now, and it's quite hard to switch between them, but with some practice you'll be able to get it. So what we'll do is we'll just make the D chord. Remember, it's the one that looks like a wee triangle. First finger on the 2nd fret of the G, miss a string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the E, and then your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B. and you're just going to strum 4 strings for this one, missing the top 2. Strum that down 4 times, and then try and swap to the A. Okay, remember, all with the 2nd fret, and the D, the G, and the B string, and this one we strum 5 strings. And then once you do that, just swap back to the D. Okay, with this go, it's slow. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. It doesn't matter if it takes you an absolute age to switch between the chords. The important thing is just trying to get there. So when you're strumming them, just strum them super slow so it sounds like deliberate. Maybe as slow as this. Just 4 times. And then try and switch so you've got lots of time. Get into the A chord and then just strum that 4 times. Super slow. And then just back to the D. And then just keep doing that as many times as you can between the D and the A, and you'll start to learn that, oh, I know where to put my fingers, and it will come much easier each time you practice that. So once you're able to do those 2, moving between them both, you're ready to learn the next chord, the E, which will give us 3 chords to play, well, 3 different chords which use our 3 of our fingers. So now you're ready to learn the next chord, the E chord. So for this one, we're going to start with our 2nd finger, our middle finger, and that's going to go in the 2nd fret of the A string. And then we're going to take our 3rd finger, and that's going to be put on the string below that on the D string, 2nd fret as well. And then our 1st finger here goes at the bottom, and it's going to go in the 1st fret of the G string, like this. And that's you're going to use those 3 fingers. Now, with this chord, you get to strum all the strings. So you don't need to worry about only hitting 4 or 5 or 3 of the strings. You actually just strum them all, and that's your E chord. Okay, so one more time. It's your middle finger, your 2nd finger, and the 2nd fret of the A string. Then your 3rd finger and the string below that. Then your 1st finger on the string below that on the 1st fret this time. And you strum all 6 of the strings. Try and strum them 4 times. And then same as the other chords, take your hand off and then just try and do it again. Find the position, 2nd fret of the A, 2nd fret of the D, 1st fret of the G, and then just strum again 4 times. And then that's you, take it off, try it again. Just do that as many times as you can until you're more comfortable with where to put your hands. Okay? Then once you can do that, you're ready to go back to your D and A chord, and this time add in the E, okay? And play like a short wee song. So it would be D, do that 4 times, and then your A 4 times, and then your E 4 times. Okay, so that's going to be quite tricky. It's going to take you a while to be able to swap between each of those chords, but just practice it super slow at first. Your D chord, switch to your A. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, just try and get there. And then to your E chord, doesn't matter how long it takes either, just try and get there. Practice that as many times as you can. Once you do the E, just go back to the D and just keep going through as slow as you like, just getting used to positioning your fingers where they go. And if you forget for a second where to actually put your fingers, just go back to the part of the video where I'm showing you how to finger the chords and practice that. Okay? And once you're able to do that, once you're like, you know these 3 chords and you can play them strumming down 4 times each one, like that, or a bit slower than that. That's you now. You'll know 6 chords, so you know your D, your A, your E, and then from the previous lessons, you know your G, your E minor, and your C. Okay? Now, practice that. That's probably more than enough for you to try this week. But if you are getting really good at it, what you can try and do, instead of just strumming down 4 times, you can try and change what you're doing with your right hand, and you can strum down and then up, then down and then up on each of the chords. Okay, so it would be on the D, you'd go down, up, down, up. Then you'd go to the A and you'd do the same thing. Down, up, down, up. And then you'd go to the E and you'd do the same thing. Okay, so that will give you like something more interesting to do with your right hand. Only try that though if you're feeling comfortable with the chords, and if you want you can go back and do that pattern in the G, the C and the E minor. Okay, but that's plenty. That's you now learned 6 chords, so practice that throughout the week and we'll come back next week to learn a couple more. Cheers.